Okay, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on food labeling requirements in China. My name is Lisa Sun, and I'm a senior consultant with extensive experience in the field of food regulations and standards in China. As we all know, China has stringent regulations when it comes to food labeling. It's crucial for international business to understand and comply with Chinese regulations and standards to ensure the safety and the legality of your products in the Chinese market. If your products are not labeled correctly, you may not only face certain regulatory actions taken by Chinese authorities, but also you may face challenges from consumers, especially from Chinese professional extortioners for fraud fighting. On one hand, Chinese regulatory authorities will strictly supervise the domestic and imported food and take different regulatory actions for products or activities that do not comply with Chinese laws, regulations, and food safety standards. For example, one of the most immediate and tangible consequences of non-compliance is the imposition of penalties and fines. In cases of severe non-compliance or when public health and safety are at risk, Chinese regulatory authorities will possess the power to order the recall and sale of non-compliant products. Persistent non-compliance can lead to more far-reaching consequences, including access restrictions. That means that the business may face significant hurdles when attempting to export its products to China, or may even have its products removed from Chinese market entirely. On the other hand, here I have listed a picture. This is called the represent the professional extortioners for fraud fighting in China. In China, there are lots of professional extortioners for fraud fighting in China. They always have very professional knowledge of food laws and regulations. And they are very familiar with the specific requirements and penalties for non-compliance, especially in food label aspect. I think their persistence in fraud fighting activities is somewhat related to the Chinese food safety laws requirement of 10 times compensation for illegal activities. According to Article 148 of the Food Safety Law of China, if someone produces foods that do not meet the food safety standards or distribute foods that are known to be non-compliant to food safety standards, the consumers who bought the foods are able to ask for compensation not more than 10 times of the price or 3 times of the loss. If the compensation is less than 1,000 yuan, compensate 1,000 yuan. In China, due to the fraud fighting activities, now more and more relevant parties, business have paid more and more attention to the compliance of food labels. That's why we are sharing this topic to you today. So next, let's get started and dive into and make the most of this informative session. Okay, based on the consequences of label non-compliance, I will share with you the basic laws, regulations, and the standards for food label compliance in China and how to label it correctly. I will introduce my point of view in these three parts: legal framework, and the compliance requirements for imported food labeling. And then last one is about the frequently asked questions sharing. Firstly, I will introduce the legal framework and the main standards of food labeling based on the Chinese laws and the regulations. China's laws and the regulations can be roughly classified into the four levels: laws, regulations, and the rules, and the normative documents. Just like the illustration I showed here, the files at the lower level often supports the files at the upper level, and generally focus more on specific affairs or specific operations, thus forming a pyramid system. So in terms of food labeling, the same system applies. For example, at the legal level, China has a food safety law, which stipulates that prepackaged foods need to be labeled with food information, and penalties that are also formulated for violations. At the regulation level, there are implementation regulations of the food safety law and the local food safety regulations. At the rule level, there are many departments have also issued rules related to food labeling, such as GCC, Decree number 248, and number 249, some of which labeling requirements for imported foods are clearly stipulated. Of course, there are also not a large number of normative documents, such as notices, decisions, matters, and replies. These documents will stipulate certain types of products or specific labeling items. These constitute China's basic management requirements for food labeling. According to Article 92 and 93 of Chinese food safety law, the imported foods shall comply with Chinese national food safety standards or hand in the product standard to the National Health Commission in China to review. Here, the product standard refers to the international standard, maybe the Kodak standard, or a standard in your country. And however, during these decades, there were only 2 products that have been reviewed and approved to import without Chinese food safety standards by Chinese National Health Commission. For example, the tequila and a kind of dairy permeate powder products. These 2 products proved to imported to China without Chinese food safety standards. That's to say, it's not suggested to import food without Chinese national food safety standards. Then let's come to prepackaged food that imported to China, which should be labeled with the Chinese in Chinese. According to Article 67 of Chinese food safety law, items to be labeled on prepackaged food include the food name, product name, net content, date of production, shelf life, storage conditions, and so on. However, there are no detailed provisions on how to label and which foods can be exempted from labeling. But however, the last paragraph of this article clearly stipulates that if national food safety standards have other provisions on labeling matters, those provisions shall apply. For example, GB 7780 is the most representative one for food labeling. But as you know, this standard is not the only one. In this slide, I will introduce more about the standards that related to food labeling in China. I will introduce more about the Chinese national food safety standards for food labeling. Here I give you a picture to show the related food labeling standards. Besides the GB 7780, another standard that is equally important as GB 7780 is GB 28050. Since you may want to design a nutrition information panel for a product, you will have to refer to the details in this standard. And also there are some other standards related to the food labeling. For example, GB 13432. This standard is the labeling of prepackaged foods for special dietary uses. This kind of foods include the formula foods for infants and young children, complementary foods for infants and young children, family foods for special medical purposes, and other foods that for special uses. And if your products belongs to this big category, besides these two standards, you will also refer to this standard. And also in China, we also have other standards. Product standards. In some countries, they're also called the identification standards. But in China, these standards also have some labeling requirements for certain products. And here are listed some of the standards. For example, this standard for beverages, and this is standard for the concentrated dairy products, and this one is for infant formula products. Yes, maybe these two are the general food labeling standards. And when it comes to the specific products, you will have to refer to this standard or the other product standards. Yes, in general, when conducting label design or compliance audits, you should firstly refer to the GB 7718 and the GB 28050. Then review the specific label standards and relevant label requirements in the product standards. Then I will share with you the core labeling requirements in GB 7718 and GB 28050 in part 2. And I will share some cases based on experience in label review to help you better understand. Okay, let's move on to part 2, compliance requirements for imported food labeling. I'll show you eight items that should be labeled in your products. For imported products, there are generally eight items that should be marked on a product label. If you have product artwork or packaging with label information around you, you can check to see if they have such elements. If such elements are covered for your products. For example, the food product name, the list of ingredients, net weight, and the contact information of the business or country. In China, this contact information means the representative, the distributor or importer in China. And the date marking in China, the standard requires the food label should be labeled with the production date and shelf life. And if your product should be stored in certain conditions, you should mark the storage conditions. And also for most of the products, you should have the nutrition information panel in your food label. And for all imported food, overseas manufacturer registration number should be labeled. Okay, now I will introduce all the 8 items one by one. Is about the food name, product name. According to section 4.1.2 of GBW 718, the product name shall be presented in a prominent place of the label. Here, the prominent place of label, we usually can consider it as the principal display panel. Usually, it means that the consumer first sees the product in front of the shelf. Yes, product name should clearly indicate the true nature of the food. But in actually many imported foods that have more than one food name, that seems to be food names, but actually this confuse the Chinese consumers. For example, here I give you an example. There is a product. There are two statements that seems like the product name. One is deep hydrolyzed protein lactose-free formula powder. It seems like in China seems like special dairy products. But actually, this kind of products is protein solid beverage. In China, if your product is protein solid beverage, you cannot be named as special dairy products like deep hydrolyzed protein lactose-free formula powder. So this will be considered misleading the consumer. It's not correct. The second, let's talk about the list of ingredients. Still according to the section, this 2 section of GBW 718, the ingredients should be listed in descending order, except those less than 2% of the addition amount. The ingredients should use the standard name. For example, such name, you can find such names in GB 23760 is about the use of food additives in China, and then GB 14880 is about this kind of standard we refers to in China refers to the nutrition elements in China, and also such name can be found in other normative documents. but there are many lots of normative documents in China, so you have to find it. If an ingredient is emphasized in label, its content should be included in the ingredient list. Here I have showed a picture. This kind of product called vitamin C gummy. Here, the vitamin C included in the product name. That's to say the business wants to emphasize that this gummy includes the vitamin C. So this will be this vitamin C, the content of vitamin C should be included in the ingredients. Here, this is the Chinese ingredient here, vitamin C. They marked the addition percent of the vitamin C, so it's correct. And there are other ingredients that should be listed in the ingredients. It's the food additives. In China, food additives can be labeled using the INS number here, but in reality, when you list the exact name, it also acceptable. So for food additives, there are three kind of methods to mark. The first method is to label the exact name of the food additive. For example, here, in Chinese, 果胶, it means pectin. You can directly list the pectin, and also you can use the function name of the pectin. For example, in China, it's a kind of thickener. So you can use the function name and the INS number to represent the pectin. And also you can use the function name and the exact name of the food additive. That means you can list thickener and pectin for pectin, for this kind of food additives, pectin. Let's talk about the net weight, net content. According to section 4.1.5 or GBW 780, it's all about the requirements about net weight. There are 3 points you should pay attention to. One is the minimum height. In this standard, there are some requirements, detailed requirements for the minimum height. It depends on the range of net content value. Here listed all the range and how to use such requirements. Number 2 is about the position. Which position should be which position the net weight should be presented. Usually the net weight should be presented in principal display panel. That means the net content should be displayed in the same page, in the same panel of the food as a food product name. Here, I give you a picture to show these requirements. And number 3, and last one is about the maybe there will be the your packages will have containing small units of prepackaged foods. For such case, in addition to declaration of the net content, the package specification should also be declared on the outer package. Except for those, the inner package does not be sold as individual units. For example, piece of cookies, bags of candies. A product with a total net weight of of 200 grams, you can use the following ways to mark the net content. You can directly list the 200 grams and then followed by the numbers and the small units weight, or exchange the position. And then you can also directly to show the small units weight and the numbers, or exchange its position. There are also more details for the net weight marking. So you can see Appendix C of GB 7780. Next one is about the contact information of the business and country of origin. This detailed information is located in the section 4.1.6 of GB 7780. There are two aspects that I want to share with you. One is the contact information business should be the information of importer, distributor, or representative in China. This is for the imported food. And the contact information should include the name, the address, and the contact way, like the phone number, the fax, internet ways, or mailing address. Here I'll give you an example. This picture shows the representative. This is the representative in Chinese, and the address. And last one is the phone number. So it's okay in China. The other one is about the country of origin. In China, according to this section, the country of origin means that the place where the food product turns into its final form. It's including the packaging and the filling process. I think this a definition for country of origin is the same in many countries all over the world. But if your products are manufactured overseas, but packaged in China, it is not considered as imported food. Then let's come to date marking and the storage conditions. And the date marking, you can refer to this section of GB 718. And for storage conditions, you can refer to this section. For date marking, we should note that we have to have the production, both the production date and the shelf life marked in your product, in your food label. For example, a production date is this date, production date, and shelf life for 2 years. That means the expiration date is 2025, July 20th. The production date should be in year, month, day order in China. It's quite different from most of the countries in the world. In general, in other countries, maybe the general order is day, month, year order, but it is opposite order in China. If it's in different order, it should be clarified clearly. But it should be noted that production dates must not be relabeled, reprinted, or tampered. Here I give you an example. This is in Chinese leading word means the production date. But we can see it's not labeled in the year, month, day order, but without any clarification of the order. So it's not acceptable. And then the they use the shelf life leading word. So for the shelf life, it's a period of time. For example, a week, a month, or 2 years, 1 year. This is a period of time we use the shelf life as a leading word. But when you use the expiration date, you can label a certain date. Okay, then for the storage condition, its storage condition is compulsory, but it depends on the date marking. When the products can be stored at as the storage conditions, then the food can be stored to the expiration date. So if your products need to be stored at certain conditions, then remember to label the storage conditions. For example, store at room temperature or refrigerate after opening, etc. There are some optional formats for representation of the storage conditions. You can refer to C5 of GB 718. According to for nutrition information, for the details, it's not included in GB 718. Then we should turn to GB 28050 this standard. According to this standard, there are 5 items that should be marked for the nutrition information panel, including the energy, the protein, the fat, carbohydrates, and the sodium. If there are some other items in nutrition label, 5 compulsory items should be more prominent than the rest. For example, we also use the bold font to distinguish the compulsory items from the rest. If you want to claim that your products are high in protein, low in sugar, or low in fat, or high in some vitamins, etc. Such nutrition should be listed in the nutrition information label. Additionally, I would like to clarify that not all the prepackaged foods in China should be labeled with a nutrition information panel. There are some kinds of foods that are exempted from nutrition label. For example, here I listed all the food categories that's exempted from the nutrition label, including the raw meat, raw fish, raw vegetables and fruits, and some alcoholic beverages, and prepackaged food with total surface area less than 100 square kilometers, and non-prepackaged food sold on the site, and bottled drinking water, and the prepackaged foods of daily intake amount less than 10 grams or 10 milliliters, and other prepackaged foods. However, even in the exemption list, if your products are covered in this list, you can also choose to label your products with nutrition labels. But once you choose to label it, you should follow the rules in GB in this standard. The last one of the 8 elements is the overseas manufacturer registration number. These requirements located in the Article 15 of GCC Decree number 249. Sorry, is it 248? Overseas food manufacturer need to get a registration number before they could import food products into China. This number should be marked on both the inner and outer packaging of the foods exported to China. Here, the inner packaging and the outer packaging, I have to give you some clarification. The inner packaging refers to a sales unit containing individual packaging that can be sold separately. And the outer packaging means the transport packaging. Okay, I give you an example. This shows the overseas manufacturer registration number in China. Usually we can use the 境外生产企业在华注册编号的 overseas manufacturer registration number in China, or registration number in China, or some other similar expression as a guide word. Or even you can have no leading words, just to mark the registration number is acceptable. Usually the registration number is 18 digits. If you have export food to China, and then you have to do the factory overseas manufacturer registration, and then if your registration have been approved by GCC, then you can obtain your 18 digits registration number. Okay, on the 18th, the above is about the 8 elements that how to label the 8 elements. And I want to show another important information about the draft, the new draft about the GBW 780. On 19th January this year, China's National Health Commission issued a draft for public consultation regarding GBW 780. This marks the 3rd solicitation of opinions since the implementation of the current edition of GBW 780. Now I'll share the main changes in the draft with you. There have been many changes in the draft compared to the current edition. So I just summarize the five main changes with you here. The first one, for prepackaged foods with a shelf life of 1 year or more, it is no longer mandatory to mark the production dates. As you know, we have introduced previously. Now, according to the GBW 780, all the prepackaged foods, imported prepackaged foods should mark both the production date and the shelf life. But according to the draft, if your shelf life is 1 year or more, it's no, you don't have to mark the production date. Yeah. And the second one is about the compound ingredients. According to the draft, the compound ingredients must be clearly presented individually and cannot be expanded and combined with the original ingredients. It's hard to explain more, so I show you two examples to show the new requirements in the draft. Here is a kind of list of ingredients of one product. Here in the original ingredient, we have sugar, salt, but then the sauce the soy sauce is one of the original ingredients, but it has such ingredient has also salt, sugar in it. So according to the new draft, you have to label the ingredients like this. But according to the current edition of GBW780, when you have the same ingredients or the constituents, you can combine with original ingredients. Yes, you don't have to expand the compound ingredients of soy sauce. Just list all the ingredients that included in such products. And the third one is about the imported repackaged products. According to the new draft, the imported prepackaged products should indicate both the country or region of the origin and the country or region of the repackaging. If the repackaging country or region is different from the country of origin, it should be indicated simultaneously. According to the current edition, you just need to show that the country of origin, that means the last processing part, last processing place. But according to the if your products is repackaged products, you have to need both the operation, the processing place. For example, the manufacturer origin and the repacked place origin. And then it's about the allergens. According to current GBW780, it's not mandatory to mark the allergens. But according to the new draft, the direct addition of energetic substances has been changed from a recommended mark to a mandatory mark. And the energetic products, substances that may be brought in during the production line can be recommended for marking. Yes, that's to say, when you are sure you have some, your products have some energetic substances in it, then you should be you have to mark the energies. But when the energetic substances that are brought in during production, not planned to add in the product, then it's recommended. It's not mandatory to mark it. The last one I want to share with you is about the digital labeling. In the new draft, China firstly introduction of the digital labeling. That means specific information for some labeling items can be indicated on the physical label. For more information, please see the digital label. But the rest compulsory items, you have to label it in a physical label. Now some people have different attitudes to this kind of digital labeling. It's not the final one. It's not the final one. So if there are some new about the GBW780, we will introduce it to you. Okay. The above is the introduction of the labeling requirements for 8 items, and it's the new draft about the GBW780. And then in general, for for the food labeling. For the specific products, you have to check many laws, regulations, and documents, and you can check them from through using FoodMate platform. FoodMate in China is the biggest platform for food laws, regulations, and standards searching, and many of the documents are free. But there are lies English version. But we also have the English website called Global FoodMate. Here is a link. You can explore more through this link. I will continue to share the questions that we are often asked during our label review services. I will show you 5 Q&As. The first one is about the label stickers, whether label stickers are acceptable. It's not it depends on the food. It depends on the food categories. According to Article 30 of GCC Decree number 249, for health food, in many countries, it refers to the health supplements or dietary supplements, and the foods for special dietary uses. These 2 big food categories, if you refer to these 2 big food categories, no, you cannot use the label stickers. You should, but for the rest imported foods, yes, you can use the label stickers. I also want to mention you that according to the QA documents of GBW 718, the original label should not have any information that is not compliant to the Chinese laws, regulations, and standards. That means if you use the label stickers, the original label should not have any information that's not contradicted to the Chinese laws, regulations, and the standards. Number 2, how should I do my date marking if my products are labeled in best before format? In many countries outside China, I know they also use the best before date. Best before date, but in China we use the production date and shelf life. So how to make the best before date to production date and shelf life. According to W718, the production date must not be relabeled, reprinted, or tampered. Maybe this will puzzle the business. How should I do to make the production date and shelf life? You can calculate the certain production date and shelf life through the best before date. For example, you can, if your original label is having best before date, companies can use the best before date to calculate the manufacture date or production dates and shelf life. And this will not be considered reprinted or relabeled the production dates. Here I give you some example. Here the best before dates. This is the best before dates, and then you can revert it to the Chinese date marking formats. The production date. For example, if the shelf life is 1 year, then the production date will be 2021. If the shelf life is 2 years, the production will be 2022. D20 is 2020. Question number 3. How to declare flavorings, artificial, natural, identical, natural, etc. on finished goods. In China, I know in many countries you can just use the flavoring or artificial flavoring to mark the flavoring or flavorings. And in China, maybe I think it's the same way, but you can use 2 methods to declare the flavoring. One way is to label the general name of the flavoring. Please see the table B2 and B3 of GB 27660 in the ingredient list. Here we have the artificial, the natural flavoring substances in table B2. And we have the synthetic flavoring substances in table B3. And in the table B2, we have the flavoring Chinese name, the English name, and the FEMA number. And in B3, we have the synthetic flavorings with its Chinese name, the English name, and the FEMA number. The general name means here, the Chinese name. So you can use the Chinese name to directly declare the flavoring. And there is also another way, directly label it as food flavoring. In Chinese, we call it 食用香料 or food flavorings. It's all acceptable. Question number 4, if I'm having if I'm having a bilingual label, do I need to translate all the information on label into Chinese? It's very common especially for the international business, one product will be exported to different markets. So maybe they will also have different languages for the food labeling. So for this case, there is some advice for you here. According to GB 718, we have, for such case, if you are using a label sticker, you can translate the compulsory information only. This compulsory information means the Chinese compulsory items, according to GB 780. And if you are not using a label sticker, you print the food information in your products, in your package. You are not using a full label, label sticker, then it's recommended to translate all the information. Make the Chinese and other languages correspondent to each other. And the last question, how can I review our food labels to ensure they meet Chinese requirements? I think here I have 3 points to share with you. Firstly, you should understand the detailed requirements of Chinese label regulations and standards. And then for your product, you have develop a mandatory identification checklist for your product with accompanying inspection standards, and then conduct the item one by one. for inspections. Last but not the most, last one is that you should very familiar with Chinese, because when you want to export the products to China, your products should mark the food information in Chinese. So it's better to know Chinese. But you have another way. You can refer to your Chinese import. According to China's Chinese regulation, laws and regulations, the Chinese importer should check the food label, that the imported food label. So you can refer to your Chinese importer for food label review. But actually, not all the Chinese importers are very professional in this field. So for this case, you can refer to the Chinese experienced third party. For example, our FoodMate. We are very have rich experience in this field. Here I list general Chinese labels, with mislabeling, with some mislabeling. According to Chinese labeling regulations and standards, there are a total of 9 mislabeling items. If you are interested, you can try to find them. And if you want to know the answers, know which 9 mislabeling items, you can contact us. So that's all for today's topic. Thank you for listening. If you have other questions about labels, you can contact us through any way that listed here that convenient to you. We are truly capable of offering you a comprehensive range of services pertaining to the export of food to China. Besides the review of labels, our assistance extends to the registration of the food factories, as well as the registration of specific food items, including normal food ingredients, food additives. If you are interested in their services, don't forget to contact us. Okay, thank you again very much. See you next time.